If you've already gotten your university admission into Canada, first of all, congratulations. That's a big deal and you should be proud of yourself. Getting admission is only half the battle. Now comes that part that honestly scares people more than the university application itself, your study permit. And the number one reason study permits get delayed or refused is wrong documents or documents that weren't prepared properly. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through every single document you need to apply for your Canadian study permit, where each one comes from, what it needs to contain, and the mistakes you have to avoid. Get your pen and paper, let's get into it. Before we get into the documents, I want to quickly explain something you'd see everywhere, and that's the acronym IRCC. IRCC stands for Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada. Think of IRCC as the Nigerian equivalent of the Immigration Service, except it handles everything: study permit, work permit, visitors visa, permanent residency, citizenship application. All of it goes through IRCC. So when you're applying for your Canadian visa, you're submitting it to IRCC. They're the ones who will review your documents, assess whether you meet the requirements, and decide whether to refuse or approve your study permit. Now, there are two ways to submit your applications. You can apply online or you can apply on paper. In this video, I'll be focusing on the online application because that's what I work with and that's what I'll recommend. One more thing before we get into documents. Canada has a maximum file size of 4 MB for document uploads. That means you'll be merging and compressing your files quite a bit throughout this process. So start getting familiar with tools that let you do that. These are the tools I use. I'm going to break the document into 3 clear categories because I think this makes the whole thing much less overwhelming. We have the documents provided by the university, documents provided by you, and documents provided by IRCC. Let's go through each one. For documents provided by the university, the first one is your offer letter. This one is non-negotiable and honestly pretty obvious, but I'll say it anyway. You cannot apply for a study permit if you've not been given admission by a university. Your offer letter, also called your letter of acceptance, is the foundation of your entire application. Without it, nothing else will move. In my next video, I'll walk you through your university application from start to finish, so look out for it. The second thing you need is your PAL or TAL. So this one confuses almost everyone, so let me explain it properly. PAL stands for Provincial Attestation Letter. TAL stands for Territorial Attestation Letter. A quick geography lesson. Canada is made up of 10 provinces and 3 territories. Think of how Nigeria has 35 states and a federal capital territory. The provinces are places like Ontario, New Brunswick, British Columbia, etc. The territories are the more northern region. A PAL or TAL is simply a letter from the province or territory where your university is located, confirming that you've been assigned one of the international student slots in that region. Think about it. If Lagos State was a province, Lagos State will look at the available number of students they can take and approve accordingly. The PAL wasn't always a requirement. IRCC introduced it in 2024, specifically to manage the number of international students coming into Canada each year. It's essentially the government's way of making sure that every student has a provincially approved slot before they even apply for a visa. Now, who doesn't need a PAL? There are some exceptions worth knowing. You don't need a PAL if you are applying at a primary or secondary school, or if you're an exchange student who doesn't pay tuition fees directly to the Canadian university. There are a few other exceptions, like if you receive a Global Affairs Canada scholarship, or if you are already in Canada applying for a study permit extension at the same school and the same level of study. But if you are a Nigerian student or an African student applying for a standard undergraduate or postgraduate program, you need a PAL, full stop. The third document is the tuition and accommodation receipts. If you've made a deposit or paid your tuition in full, upload that receipt. I know paying a deposit isn't required at every university, but here's my honest advice: make that deposit anyways. Why? Because it signals commitment. It tells the visa officer that you are serious about this, and in a visa application, anything that strengthens your intent is worth doing. The last document you need under this category is your scholarship or discount letter. If you've been awarded any scholarship, bursary or tuition discounts, upload that documentation too. It works in your favor. It reduces your financial burden on paper and shows the visa officer that the Canadian institution has already invested in you. Now, the second category is documents that comes from you. This is the bigger category, and honestly, this is the one where people make mistakes. So let's go through it carefully. Number 1, your digital photo. Follow IRCC specifications. White background, recent, clear. Don't overthink it, but don't skip the requirements. requirements. Review their list on the website. Number 2, birth certificate. Make sure that your birth certificate is legible and the scan is clean. If the details on your birth certificate is different from your international passport or any other document, get an affidavit. Number 3, medical examination. This one surprises people. You are required to undergo a medical examination at an IRCC approved hospital or clinic, not just any hospital. If you are in Nigeria, there are 2 approved centers, Q Life Family Clinic and IOM. The medical exam is valid for 1 year from the date it was completed. So don't do it too early and let it expire before your application is processed. If you are based outside Nigeria, IRCC has a database of approved clinic or physician. You can check it using this link and I'll put it in the description box. The 4th document is your international passport and travel history. Upload your current passport, including all pages with visa stamps. Travel history tells the visa officer a story. It shows that you've traveled before, that you've respected visa conditions, and that you've returned home when you were supposed to. So if you have previous visas, UK, US, Schengen, include them. They genuinely help. But if you don't have a travel history, it's completely fine. The 5th document is client information and supporting documents. This includes things like proof of your relationship, which is relevant if your family member is sponsoring you, your personal statement, and any degree certificates, WAEC, NECO, BSc transcript and certificates, etc. Any other supporting documents you think would help. The 6th document you need is a consent letter. This is for underage students. It should be written by both parents, giving their underage child permission to travel to Canada. It must be signed and dated. This is the format I use. The 7th document is your proof of funds. This is the section where I want to spend the most time on because it is arguably the most important part of your entire application. The visa officer needs to be convinced that you or your sponsor can financially support your education and living expenses in Canada. And the way you prove that is through your proof of funds. Let me break this down based on your situation. We will tackle if you or your sponsor are employed or self-employed. If you are self-employed, you need to provide your CSC certificate, which is a proof that your business is registered, your tax certificate. So if you've not paid your tax, go and pay your tax for at least 3 years. These can get your visa rejected. Your annual return letter, your vendor's reference letter if you operate a business account, and pay slip if you've paid yourself a salary. What I always advise my business clients is to pay themselves salary because IRCC sees your business as a business. Every transaction that happens in your business account is a business transaction. So when you pay yourself, you have a personal account to show your personal transactions. Now, if you are employed, you need an employment letter or an introduction letter from your employer. The reason you might need an introduction letter is if you've been working for say 15 to 20 years and you can't find your employment letter, you can go to your employer and request for an introduction letter. This should include your name, when you started working, your role, and the amount you are being paid. You'd also need your pay slip. Your pay slip must match the salary transactions that occurs in your account. So this means that if you get commissions or other bonuses, let it be included in your pay slip. If it's not included in your pay slip, it should be included in your introduction letter. Now, the general proof of funds documents that everyone needs is this. Bank statement. It has to be 4 to 6 months. This is non-negotiable. The officer wants to see that your account has consistent, credible activities, not a one-time large deposit right before your application. If you own any landed properties, include the document. It demonstrates assets and financial stability. If you have investments, upload the documentation. It shows that you are financially credible. If you have pension, upload the document. Now, I will talk about the sponsorship letter. If someone else is funding your education, whether your parents or your relative, this letter matters enormously. It needs to explain who your sponsor is, what your relationship is to them, and why they are sponsoring you. And this is really important. If there are any large or irregular transactions in their bank statements, those transactions need to be explained in the letter with supporting documents. It must be signed and dated. Now, I want to quickly address the e-bank statement. This is the electronic version of your bank statement. It's not compulsory, but I always advise uploading it alongside your stamped statement. It adds another layer of verification. application. Finally, the letter of explanation. I want to make sure you understand why this document exists because a lot of people underestimate it. When a visa officer reviews your application, they're not sitting across a table from you. They cannot ask you questions. They cannot call you for clarifications. Your application has to speak for itself. Remember, your statement only shows the lump sum and the financial transactions. It doesn't indicate what each money is for. Your letter of explanation is your opportunity to walk the officer through your application in your own words, to explain and defend your source of funds, to break down every large or irregular deposit in your account, to outline how much you've already paid towards your tuition and any discounts or scholarship you have received. Your letter of explanation is what you use to explain every other document you are uploading, like your rental income, your landed properties, your shares, your bonds, and every other investment. It's your letter of explanation that breaks it clearly. I've seen many people, even with a lot of money, a lot of investments, get refusal because they don't have a letter of explanation. I recently worked on a client who had 5 visa refusals because of this issue. So take it serious. Sit down, relax, list every document you are uploading. Explain it clearly and concisely. I had a client who was earning over 100 million naira per year. He had several investments, but while he was writing his letter of explanation, what he wrote was, I have many properties in Nigeria. After his visa was refused, when I was doing a second visa application, this was what I wrote. I have 3 properties in Victoria Island. This is the value of these properties and these are the documents I have attached for verification. I did the same thing with all the properties he shared with me, all the investments he had. They were clearly communicated with their values. So you can use your letter of explanation to list every document you are uploading, almost like your cover letter for your application. Don't be scared. The visa officer is not going to use your documents for anything. You are legally protected. But this makes the visa officer jobs easier. And when his job is easier, it makes your outcome better. Think of this letter as your voice inside the application. Use it. Finally, let's talk about the documents from IRCC. This category, most people don't really talk about it. And honestly, it's the one that feels the most confusing when you first encounter it. Because unlike the other 2 categories, you're not gathering these documents from somewhere else. IRCC generates them for you through the online application portal itself. Then you download and fill them. A side note, most IRCC forms can only be opened using Adobe Acrobat Reader. After filling out the form, always click on the validate button. This form does not need to be signed. It is only required to be validated. If it is not filled out properly before submission, it will be rejected. Now, here's what the category includes. The application for study permit made outside of Canada form. When you start your online application on the IRCC portal, you will be required to fill the official study application form. It asks for your personal information, your travel history, details about the institution you've been admitted to, and your financial information. Take your time and fill this out. Every answer needs to be accurate and consistent with the other documents in your application. If something in your form contradicts something in your bank statement or your offer letter, to be noticed. The second one is the application for a temporary residence. This form collects important information about you, including personal details, criminal history, immigration violation, military or security service, government positions if you have any. Now you have the family information form. This is a form where you provide detailed information about your family members, whether they are traveling with you or not. You will typically need to list your spouse if applicable, your parents, your children, whether they are adopted or your stepchildren, and your brothers and sisters. These are the details required under this form. Now you have your family member representation form. This is a form for family members who wish to apply together with the student. For example, if a parent wants to travel with their underage child, to do so, both members of the family, that is the underage student and the parents, must complete this form to designate a family member whose account will be used to submit this application. Here's a key point about IRCC forms. The forms are generated and guided by the portal itself. That means the forms will be available to you based on the answers you've provided during the application. For example, if you are asked, will a family member accompany you? If you pick no, the family member representative form will not be generated for you. The system will walk you through what is required step by step, and you need to answer every question honestly and consistently. Inconsistencies between your forms and your supporting documents are one of the commonest reasons your applications get flagged. So take your time. The Canada application takes time and effort. If you're unsure about any question, take the time to find out rather than guessing. Now, here's what I've seen over and over again with students who get approved. It's not always the students with the highest amount in their account or with the most impressive transcripts. It's It is with the students who are the most organized, most thorough, and the ones who leave no questions unanswered and no documents unexplained. That level of preparation is a choice, and it's entirely within your control. That means your visa approval is entirely within your control. And we've come to the end of this video. If you found this helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. Drop your comments. I read and answer every single one of them. My job is to ensure that you always get an approval and your study applications run smoothly. If you need help with your visa or your university applications, book a consultation using the link in the description box. As always, I'm your favorite study counselor. See you in my next one. Bye.